Hello YouTube, Korhor is back for Path of Exile 2.3, and I couldn't be more excited to be playing a brand new League of Path of Exile. Asynchronous trade, Abyss League, don't have to go through cruel difficulty anymore. Super excited about all of that, but today I wanted to go through and theorycraft a lot of things with Acolyte of Chayula, tell you what I hate a lot about it, tell you what I'm going to miss a lot about the stuff that got changed, why I loved it so much. TLDR, if you only wanted to click and watch this video for 20 seconds, defenses on Acolyte of Chayula suck now in most cases. Offense firepower got increased exponentially, but very conditionally. And I'll go through all of that. So if you want to stick around for the rest of the video, you'll be able to see and understand a lot of my thought process as I'm going through this. And I have played up to 1,500 hours of Chayula, so I have a really good understanding of where we're going to be able to unlock things, talk to you about things that I don't think are going to work, things that are going to be clunky, all of that good stuff. So where I wanted to start is hollow palm technique. A lot of people are probably going to be clicking on videos like this one to ask about hollow palm technique. So that's where I'll start. The short answer with hollow palm technique is I don't think this scales well. I think if it did scale very well with just physical damage based on skill level, I think this immediately becomes the most broken notable for anybody that wants to use quarterstaff skills. So the TLDR on hollow palm technique is that it's too strong if they actually make the flat damage on it super strong. So I don't think this scales well into the end game unless you're using an attack speed scaling version that you're going to basically be scaling your top end damage with attack speed. Then I do think hollow palm technique will scale into the end game. As it stands right now, hollow palm technique will exist really great as an early mapper, mid to late game mapper, but once you get a really solid collapsing horizon quarterstaff or a really solid rare quarterstaff, then I think that you'll be running hollow palm technique. So really exciting, be super awesome for early maps, and it'll be great on lots of ascendancies. But if you're planning on using quarterstaff skills, this will be great early, regardless. What you're looking at here is my overall skills. This is just what I have set up as the background, but I'll be going through some other things as well, like notably what we are now missing. And I just X'd out of that, so that kind of sucks. I had a backup, so we're good. We lost consuming questions. This is just going over all the stuff we used to have and why I miss it so much. Mana Leech effects also recover energy shield. The main thing people were excited about before this game was even at launch. They saw Acolyte of Chayula Ascendancy, they saw Mana Leech effects, recover energy shield. Holy shit, we have energy shield leech, that's super exciting. Then Acolyte was revealed and the rest of the Ascendancy was shit. In point 2, we got Mana Leech recovers based on other damage types. This replaced Mana Leech's instant. We lost both of these. Ravenous Doubts and Consuming Questions are just gone, so no more leeching energy shield, no more easy access to Mana Leech on other damage types. They are adding a notable that will allow us to leech via elemental damage, and there is a change to the Ascendancy that allows us to leech via chaos. I'll talk about that later, but these are just gone. Chayula's Gift is unchanged. This is still a strong defensive node, but just kind of okay defensive node. Definitely helps with chaos res, since we're most likely not going CI anymore. Reality Rending, some of our flat guaranteed damage out of the kit, around 17% damage as extra chaos, is just gone. Into the Breach. The 2-point version is better with the new Ascendancy. The top end of Lucid Dreaming doubling your flames value, it lowers the top end just a bit, but they're adding a lot of consistency here if you're taking these points for damage. I'll talk about this when I show you the actual changed version. So not a ton of changes on Into the Breach. It's slightly better at 2 points, slightly worse at the top end at 4 points, but better consistency at 4 points. I actually like the changes to Into the Breach, but kind of crappy that they didn't just make this baseline doubling the effect, just making it, hey, it's 14% instead of 7. Like, they just made that and they made something and they made the same exact change. Otherwise, I'd be way happier because we're still playing the Pac-Man minigame. But anyways, this is nice. Darkness, didn't see any real meaningful changes, with the exception of, oh hey, one of the big reasons you'd go Darkness in the first place outside of the minor defensive layer it adds is, hey, I get extra chaos damage for my level of Darkness that I have. Well, yeah, they just took Grasp of the Void away. So they didn't address the problem with Darkness, is that Spirit usually enables you to do a lot more damage or have significantly higher defensive capabilities, and we're taking all of that away with Embrace the Darkness. They just took the damage off of it. So this Grasp of the Void is just gone. They did move Inner Silence into the 2-point of Embrace the Darkness, which is nice, but Darkness still sucks. Like, really sucks. My last video was entirely shitting on Darkness. I'm still entirely upset that still a 4 points of the Ascendancy is still effectively worthless, in some exceptions of some very niche scenarios that I'll explain with the Ascendancy changes, so we'll go into that right now. All right, here is the changed Ascendancy. Inner Turmoil, gain 1 volatility when you inflict an elemental ailment and you don't take damage from volatility. For those of you who don't know, volatility is a mechanic that as you build it up, you can build it up to 200 stacks. Every stack that you detonate on yourself gets you 1% damage as extra chaos. So the top end of this is 200% damage as extra chaos. And take no damage from volatility. How volatility normally works is every charge of volatility that you gain, you take 100 damage from volatility. Because this version has us taking no damage from volatility, obviously that's very strong, allows us to get to a pretty high top end. This next one though, chaos damage from hits contributes to ignite, freeze, shock. This sucks. Again, I hate it because it's so random. It's just, hey, it changes every 2 seconds. So when you're in the hecticness of the map or you're trying to set up on a boss, it's just a layer that you can't really rely on considerably. And we're also going to be applying ailments anyway. I could see this being effective with like Original Sin or Black Flame Covenant when you are using fire spells. So I could see this node mattering for spell version Acolyte of Cholula, but quarterstaff version Acolyte of Cholula I don't think ever takes Unraveling, because a lot of times you're getting flat damage from rings and your quarterstaff anyway, so that you can be applying those ailments anyway. 4 elemental ailments to be thinking of, technically 5. Shock, Electrocute, Chill, Freeze, Ignite. So we have 5 different things that we're going to be applying, and those are all super easy to apply without like a ton of investment. So I don't think chaos damage from hits contributing to that really matters, unless you're only doing chaos damage, a la Black Flame Covenant, a la Original Sin spell builds. So Unraveling, not going to see a ton of play. Inner Turmoil, awesome. Childless Gift, unchanged. Sap of Nightmares, Leech recovers based on chaos damage as well as physical damage. I'm going to take the notable in the tree instead of using this Leech. The notable in the tree that's coming is elemental damage is what your leech is based on rather than your physical damage. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'll be doing life and mana leech to sustain. And have it do it based off of elemental damage. If I think that's not enough, then I can take 2 points to get chaos, but I think Childless Gift, Inner Turmoil, and 4 points of End of the Breach is going to be better. Or potentially Void Illusion, but I'll talk about the exact points that I'm for sure taking and then where I'm thinking with the rest of the points. So I kind of talked about the changes of Into the Breach here. 50% increase effect. I don't know if that starts at 50% increase effect or if that's like a leveling mechanic. As you get higher level, they get stronger. But this would put them at each purple flame giving you 10.5%, or each blue flame giving you 10.5% mana recovery, or each red flame giving you 10.5% life recovery. So the 4 point, all flames you manifest are purple, which is going to be the one that most people take. Maybe some niche scenarios where you take mana if you are a caster, or life for whatever random reason. I don't think life gets taken. Niche scenarios for mana. purple's probably going to be the most popular. Makes it super consistent to get a lot more stacks of this, but again, I'm very grateful for the consistency, and I actually appreciate this a lot. It will make this more consistent, but it's still a mini game, and I wish they just kept the top end damage numbers of this the same. But theoretically speaking, the top end of Purple Flame plus Inner Turmoil with Volatility tech is 305% damage as extra chaos, which is a shitload, but it's very conditional. It'll be hard to have that happening consistently. I think we can get that consistently to happen on bosses, but not in maps. So the main thing that I have as a concern right now is defenses and damage consistency in maps. I think we're going to be insane bossers and have crazy, ridiculous top end, which is exciting. But I hate the randomness of it all. Void Illusion, I have a screenshot of it from the live stream that I'll pull in here in a second. I don't think it's very good, but I'll talk about that why in just a second. Deepening Shadows is the new 4-pointer for Embrace the Darkness. So the niche scenario where Embrace the Darkness works is if you don't want to use Spirit as a spellcaster. I think Spirit's too important for melee characters, so I don't think Darkness is possible on melee characters. But I think there are some ranged characters that can use Embrace the Darkness with the Deepening Shadows. So I would be thinking those people would be taking Inner Turmoil for the damage, Chilula's Gift, because you really should be taking Chilula's Gift with Deepening Shadows if it's doubling your Chaos Resistance. If Uncapped is relevant here. If it is based off of Uncapped Chaos Resistance, it'll be pretty easy to get Darkness to be a shield of 3,000 damage, which is obviously a big hit pool. Great for defenses, so I could see this being relevant for casters and then getting all their damage from Inner Turmoil. Just depends, but I just think no Spirit is too much of a drawback. But we'll see. If it's uncapped, I think that Embrace the Darkness is actually solid as a defensive option again, but you have no Spirit, so that sucks. But if it's uncapped Chaos Res, then that's great. If it's just based on 85%, that means 85% increased maximum darkness. So generally speaking, that's going to be like, I can't remember what the exact top end numbers were, but I think it would mean, can do the math on that. I'll release a different video if I think it's going to be relevant. If I don't think it's going to be relevant, I'm not releasing a video, but I just really don't. I really hate that they didn't rework this more considerably. And that's the changes. Hopefully that gives you the frame of reference of what it used to be to what it is now, where I think it's strong, where I don't think it's strong, coming from a 1,500-hour Acolyte player. All right, Void Illusion. I promised I'd give you a screenshot. Here it is. Void Illusion, at level 12, it has an attack damage of 410% with a radius of 3 meters, which is decently large. It would be 3.4 meters with quality, which is a pretty large explosion. I think we all saw that in the live stream. Decent attack damage. I think at level 20, this will be like over 1,000%. So similar to like Gathering Storm level damage. But the problem with this is I don't think that we can actually scale it very well because the cooldown time is so monumental and the attack damage is not further scalable with any kind of levels, because if we look at the tags, it's buff, persistent, AoE, duration. It doesn't have any tags like skill, like a quarterstaff skill or chaos or anything that we can actually add levels to. So I don't think this is scalable. The only use that I could see for Void Illusion is a Catharsis popper as a free skill, which I'll explain what Catharsis is here in just a second. What I want to go through before I talk about what I'm doing for volatility is all of the things that are currently available to generate volatility, because that'll be the core principle of Acolyte of Chilula is how are we generating it. So the existing ways of generating volatility is you can generate 5 volatility when you use an empowered attack with that support put into an attack. You generate, and that's 5 volatility per empowered attack that you use. There's when you crit, gain 1 volatility. There's a chance on kill from the tree to gain volatility. There's a chance when you get stunned to gain volatility, not super relevant. And then there is Catharsis to gain volatility, which is if you have 20 volatility on you and you use the skill that Catharsis, the support gem, is linked into, you detonate a random amount on you, which will be helpful for consistency's sake, but again, it's random, so it's not consistent, which I hate. Again, I fucking hate all this conditional shit, but hey, I'll be happy that we have good top end. And then lastly is Unstable Bond is really the most straightforward and consistent way to generate it without super duper investing in skill empowerment. But just to get you a frame of reference of how fast you can go 0 to 200 is Mana Tempest and like Incinerate or Ember Fusillade allows you to get from 0 stacks of volatility to 200 in around 5 to 6 seconds. Emergency Reload Crossbow skill allows you to get to 200 stacks in around 5 seconds. Resonating Shield and a unique two-handed hammer. So you have to have a shield and you have to have a two-handed hammer. Gets you to 200 in like a second because you just spam Resonating Shield over and over again. And that's technically empowered because the hammer enables you to, that all skills are technically considered empowered. But I don't really see a ton of use with maces personally, but those are all different ways to get to 200 very quickly. Those are all super niche. I don't think I'm going to be putting any of that tech into my build. I may end up doing it if it's super clean and I just see the value in it over any of these skills. But the main way that I'm going to be generating it, which I do actually have an image for, is Unstable Bond. It's a notable passive in the tree, pretty close to Black Flame Covenant. I'm either going to Megalomaniac this or Anoint this, but you gain 3 volatility when an allied persistent reviving minion is killed. If you know about my build from before, I utilize Sacrifice as a spirit gem to sacrifice skeletal warriors given from a Rattling Scepter in my second weapon set, so that I can generate a lot of volatility pretty quickly. It's not 205 seconds quick, but I think I can get up to 200 pretty consistently in a 20 to 30 second window, which will be not that crazy to have to do before pinnacle bosses to enable me to one-shot them. So that's what the tech that I'm going to be using. Little clunky, but at least it's consistent, and I have a really good way to generate it, so Unstable Bond, which enables us to generate it outside of combat. Generating it in combat is going to be pretty easy. I just think cycling it and actually getting it to detonate, because there's a 10-second detonation timer. I think I forgot to mention that when I was explaining volatility. As you gain volatility, it doesn't detonate until you stop gaining volatility. So you need a way to detonate it when you're zooming through maps. I can wait for it to detonate when I'm using Unstable Bond before a boss and then just start it right before it detonates. But Catharsis is really going to be the key here of how we are going to be detonating it through maps and making it super consistent for us. So Catharsis requires you to have 20 volatility on you. When you use that supported skill, it'll detonate a random amount of volatility. This is how we make it consistent in maps so that we are getting the damage boost from volatility. So that's the goal, is to use this support gem for that. Those are my thoughts. I think Spell Chayula has a really big upside, and it is definitely available to be used in a spellcaster method now, whereas before there really wasn't a ton of things supporting being a spellcaster Chayula. Now I think that's definitely possible, so that's going to open up a lot more possibilities for the Ascendancy. I think for Quarterstaff side of things, which I'm going to focus on because I love Flicker Strike and I love Chayula, I think our top end is better, but our defenses are absolute garbage. Those are the summaries of what I'm thinking about the Ascendancy as a whole. So I'm excited for the damage potential. I'm very sad at losing the crazy defensive layer that we had for such a long time. With that said, here's my skills rough draft. Flicker, duh. A filler skill, this is where we'll slot in Catharsis. So when we're not flickering, throw out a couple fillers, Catharsis will pop our vol, then we'll go right back into flickering. Charge Staff, flat lightning damage is great. I absolutely love it. And the gaining volatility on crit support will go in here, so I don't have to use that opportunity cost in Flicker Strike. So just whenever we're randomly critting with Charge Staff as we're flickering throughout the map, we'll be getting some extra vol gen there, as well as whenever we apply ailments. Infernal Cry will have Premeditation, Rage Generation for bossing. It does have the nerfed damage. It's down to around, I believe, 59% damage as extra fire. It used to be 137%, but obviously we more than make up for that with the extra chaos that we have now. But the rage and the premeditation and consuming rage for more damage, all of that is still very strong, so that's why we're going to keep Infernal Cry. We're going to have manual cast Profane Ritual for power charge gen out of combat. We're going to put a copy of Profane Ritual into one of Reaper's Invocation, Cast on Ailment, Cast on Crit, or Elemental Invocation. You can have, I know one of the changes was, hey, you can't have copies of skill gems. The main thing that was called out there is that you can't have the same copy of two, so like no 2 Cast on Freezes, no 2 Reaper's Invocation, no 2 Profane Ritual. But if Profane Ritual is in a persistent skill gem, then you can have 2 copies, which if that wasn't the case, then my build would be pretty dead. Anyways, that's just a clarifying point. Probably going to run Reaper's Invocation because it has the highest energy gen in the game and it's only 60 spirit. You would just hold down your button of choice while you're flickering so that Reaper's Invocation is constantly popping Profane Ritual for you, which is what generates our power charges so that we can keep the flicker engine running, baby. The rest of the spirit skills, the only other one that's 100% required is Sacrifice, because that's how we're going to generate power charges out of combat for bossing. Top end damage would be, we need a curse to enable our top end damage. I'm not sure if I'm going to be running Despair or an elemental curse yet. I have to look at the damage numbers in game once I actually have a closer to end game setup. So this will all require 10 skill slots. These 2 slots are the ones that I'm not 100% sure on either. I may just run just one Herald, like Herald of Ice or Herald of Thunder, and then Wind Dancer, because that will be, I just put little things here of kind of what the spirit costs would be. Elemental and Reapers is 60, Cast on Crit is 90, Cast on Elemental Ailment will be 100 or 90. Heralds are obviously 30 each. Wind Dancer is 30, so I'm thinking maybe Wind Dancer and Herald of Thunder, or maybe Wind Dancer, Herald of Ice, or just double Heralds. It just really depends on how squishy I feel I am. So again, 10 skill slots. Will require an unset to not have to change any skills out, but I might skip an unset early and just swap the curse in for Herald on Pinnacles and Uber until I find a really good unset ring. Second weapon set on the passive skill tree will be Curse Magnitude, just like it was on my 0.2 build, so that we don't have to run any like Elemental Pen or Beacon of Azus. Our Elemental Exposure Applicator will be Charge Staff, hopefully, unless anything's changed with the way that that works with the changes they did to applying Elemental Exposure. Wither Source, I'm not 100% sure on yet. Do we care about Wither? I might care about Wither. I just don't know a really great way to be applying it. It just really depends. So, to be determined on Wither Source. Again, talked about how we're starting Hollow Palm. I don't know when we'll get that in the leveling process. So these are the 2 options I was thinking for leveling is Icestrike Bell Herald, just pretty straightforward. The only downside for Icestrike Bell Herald is every 5 levels or so, you want to spend your currency to buy a quarterstaff from trade. If you're not doing that, you're going to have a miserable time leveling with a quarterstaff. If you don't want to do that, then I would say the most easy brain dead way without interacting with trade while you're leveling is to do Chaos Totems with Decaying Hex slotted into Despair with some Curse Activation speed nodes, as well as ED Contagion. I did this in our private league that ran for about a month, and it was really fast. That is pretty much it of everything that I wanted to go through today. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. I hope that you continue to play Acolyte of Cholula even after the first week, once you get the hang of all of the different Acolyte of Cholula things with the flames, with darkness sucking, with GGG consistently, not just giving you a straight up buff and having it be conditional. So hopefully you join the ranks of Acolyte and become a masochist like myself. Like, comment, and subscribe.